Hello and welcome to episode 173 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the mush knob, Alessandro Velsi. Say hello, Al.
My arm has been itchy for 72 hours.
That's it. Also joining us this week, fan favorite, Gary Garecki. Say hello, Gary.
Meet the new mutants. Same as the old mutants. It's going to be my worst one. I've decided that everybody has to have a worst one, so that's the best I can do.
That's fair. On this week's episode, we've got Loki, MGM, The Boys, and other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week. You guessed it, the New Mutants. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
I don't know why, but the more I think about it, that one's really growing on me. As like an intro. I don't know why, but I'm like laughing harder the more I think about it. Sorry, we're drinking. We're drinking a Boulevard beer, which we've done a few of over the years, and this is Boulevard Brewing Company with Creature Comforts and Arizona Wilderness Brewing Companies. That's a three-way collaboration on a beer. It seems like it's oak-aged lager with peach, lemon zest, and Riesling grape juice. This is the Collaboration 7, which I guess is a collaboration series based off of the Tank 7 Boulevard beer, which is like their flagship, I guess, probably. I'm looking at the back now, and oh, Jesus Christ, that notification that only I heard and neither of the two of you nor the audience heard just like assaulted my eardrums. To reiterate, on the back, this is in fact says an oak-aged lager with peach, lemon zest, and Riesling grape juice. It's 6% alcohol by volume with 16 IBUs. That's all I have to say about this beer.
All right.
Pre-tasting.
Not much to go on here. Nothing notable about the bottle art. just a cheers, and we'll talk about this one while
Cheers.
Gary gets ready to tell us about his beer. Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have some of Connecticut's finest here. The Fat Orange Cat, a new double IPA from them. Polydactyl Cat. All their IPAs are very good. Super juicy. New England style. You know what you're getting. But, yeah, some slight variations in the sweetness, pretty much. I got the Welcome to Harga beer more recently, and I've showed you guys the cover art for that before. The label is the midsummer, the cat in the midsummer kind of flowers.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I do recall that.
Which is just amazing. So, I don't know. Pretty much anything from
I love the name of that beer.
Yes. So pretty much anything from them, I'm willing to try.
Nice.
Our beer smells intoxicating, and I don't mean that in an alcohol way. I mean, it's so fruity. I smell the lemon zest and the peach.
Yeah, I was going to say, it smells like something very specific, and I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a candy.
It does kind of have a candy-ish.
Like a peacho?
A what?
You know those like gummy peach rings?
Oh, peacho.
Like the sugar-covered ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I thought you were speaking another language for a minute. Like, have you ever had a peacho?
Oh, yeah, a macho peacho. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Chicle?
Yes. Oh, boy. It's. I feel like there's a lot going on the nose, but taste-wise, it's fine.
Yeah, there is a lot going on in the nose. I had a bloody nose a couple hours ago. I'm not entirely sure why.
Or just what's going on with you? Your arm's itchy. Are you allergic to something in your house?
The arm thing actually is borderline allergy. I got stung by, I don't know if it was a wasp or a hornet on Sunday night. The little fucker. I mean,
yeah, you don't want that.
So first of all, I'm sitting down to a lovely Father's Day dinner with my family. After cooking up some delicious steaks on our way too large grill that me and my dad built.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there was a hornets/wasp nest just behind and above us that none of us was aware of until we were in the middle of dinner. And all of a sudden, I felt something smack up against my arm. I turned and looked, got stung, and then the thing was just chilling on my arm. And I was like, go away. Go away. You've stung me already.
Yeah.
Go on, get. And
you've done your dirty work.
Yeah, you've done your dirty work, and also fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think the thing probably died because I didn't find the stinger in my arm, so it probably lived to sting again.
Sure.
Or at least until we sprayed it with Reed a little while later.
If it got you twice, that would have been messed up.
Literally adding insult to injury. So then, like, I don't know, 15 minutes later, my mom got stung in, like, the corner of her eye. Like, not the eyeball. Like, right, like, where, like, the temple meets, like, the corner of the orbital bone.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And so we moved the rest of dinner inside. As
that
one
makes sense.
does.
That tracks.
Now, I thought it was a fairly conventional sting. I've been stung way too many times in my life by a variety of yellow jackets, hornets, wasps, and bees. And, you know, I put some ice on it, put some hydrocortisone on it, and that was the end of it. It went from like an 8 down to a 2, and I was like, okay, we'll go about our business. And then I woke up the next morning, and my arm was so itchy.
Ooh. And
has been ever since.
Do you try sucking the poison out? Or is that only snakes?
I don't think you're supposed to do it for snakes either. But no.
Nah, it definitely works.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I refer all poison sucking to the episode of Archer where they're in the desert and... Well, Gary, I forgot. Did you watch Archer? You know the one I'm talking about?
I think so, but I only watched it. It's earlier, like before they did like weird spin-off seasons, right? Or
I think it was season 4. It was
okay.
Pre-Vice, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And so it's Archer, Ray, and Cyril. They're in the desert. They're going to, I forget, they're in Kazakhstan, I think, and they're trying to bribe some local tribal leader in the desert. And Archer lost the map in, I want to say, an airport in Greece somewhere, and he's looking for something to wipe his ass with when he goes to take a dump, and they won't give him any of the money that they're using for the bribe, so they give him some other map or something, I forget. He wanders off, and they're talking about rattlesnakes, and he gets bit while trying to take a dump in the taint. And he's trying to find out what to do to help himself to not die from poison, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't know what to do about that. And he's like, get over here and suck my teeth. Like, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And he goes, just put a tourniquet on it. And Ray goes, you cannot tourniquet the taint.
Not with that attitude.
Yeah, well, for sure. The rest of that episode's pretty great as Archer goes into a fever due to rattle. Whatever it was. But I always think of that line. You cannot tourniquet the taint.
Jesus. Oh, boy. Al, what do you give this beer?
I've really been enjoying this beer. I know we kind of went off on a tangent there. Dude, it's a really tasty, I think perfect for the season. Spring, summer, fringe. I'm going to give this 3 thuckles for sure.
Okay. I agree with you season-wise. It feels like it fits nicely. I'm not blown away by any means. I'm going 2 thuckles.
Okay. So still fine.
It's not offensive, but it's not really like super special.
I'm not special, but I'm very much enjoying the beer. I don't know.
Yeah, you had me.
How many thuckles does your beer get, Gary?
It's what is the scale? How many?
Well, a thuckle is half a thumb.
Okay, so
you have a maximum of 4 thuckles.
Oh, okay. 3 is good, I guess. But you guys had me at the Riesling.
Good.
Although Riesling actually, grape juice.
Sorry, what did you say?
The Riesling grape juice or whatever that you said was in there.
I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, anytime there's like weird wine stuff in beer, I'll always give it a go.
Yeah, sometimes I really like it, and sometimes it leaves a weird aftertaste that I'm not a huge fan of. This one's been pretty good, I think.
Okay.
I do have a question, though. Should we have given Gary special dispensation because he's drinking a beer called Polydactyl, which is referring to having extra toes or fingers? Should we have given him a maximum of, let's say, 6 thuckles?
Oh, shit.
Now, it wouldn't have changed his grade, but...
I'm not willing to mess up our already ludicrous scale.
No.
ludicrous scale, ludicrous speed, whatever, like, you know.
But, very nice. Good. Thanks for this one, Al.
Shit.
I am interested in trying some of these ones that Gary's got over there. Those sound quite nice. Quite nice. But it is time to get into some news and nuggets, as this is our movie and beer podcast. Al, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. Which news would you like to hear?
I want to know a little bit about The Boys.
Okay, it's a little creepy when you put it that way, but let's talk about that. Boys Season 3, casting a trio of brand new heroes. This is on IGN. Amazon's superhero series, The Boys, is making preparations for its third season by hiring even more boys. I'm just reading what's on the page here.
That's great.
Actors Sean Patrick Flannery, Nick Weschler, and Miles Gaston Villanueva have been cast in a recurring role for the upcoming season. All three will play an original character that has not been featured in The Boys comics by Garth Ennis and Derek. Flannery will play a character named Gunpowder. He starred in films like The Boondock Saints and Powder. He's also starred as Indiana Jones in the 90s television series, The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
That was him?
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know that.
What?
Weschler will be playing Blue Hawk for The Boys. He was one of the main characters on ABC's drama series Revenge. And Villanueva will be playing a character named Supersonic. He played a major role in the miniseries Law & Order True Crime, focusing on the Menendez murders. He's also appeared on The Resident and CW's Nancy Drew. There have been no official details released on the nature of these new characters' powers, though their superhero names certainly provide some hints as to what they may be. The three heroes will be joined by fellow series newcomer Soldier Boy, actor Jensen Ackles.
Cool. I as we mentioned on like a previous episode, I started getting back into that series because I never finished the second season. I think I've watched a couple more episodes since we last spoke. I'm still very much enjoying it. I don't know why I haven't finished it in the past. I haven't been like, I'm not like itching to like, oh, it's like tonight I have to get at least one more episode and I'm hooked. But I do enjoy it. So
well, I can definitely understand this is going to probably certainly be a non-Kim show that you're watching on your own. So that's certainly, I'm sure, playing a part of it.
Sure.
I kind of went through something similar where I'd started the second season and then kind of hit a wall. Not because I wasn't enjoying the show, just like because, like you said, it's like I wasn't like, oh, I need to keep going. I was very much enjoying it, just like didn't feel like, oh, I need one more or got to get to find some time. And then when I had my COVID isolation, I powered through the back half of that season. So
I'm glad you didn't say the title of the name. It would have just made that sentence
Powered
much
through
worse.
the
That being
boys.
said,
well,
yeah.
you already we both did a masterful job so far because you refrained from saying I've gotten back into the boys, and I was going to comment on your messaging there, and I also was not going to say powered through the boys.
What about you, Gary? Are you enjoying The Boys?
Oh, Tobias, you blow hard.
Perfect.
I really like season 2. I mean, I almost thought season 1 was almost too dark. In the way, like, I could watch 1 or 2, but I couldn't watch like 3 in a night because it was just really heavy. And it was fun. It's still fun, like but in a dark way, like a Game of Thrones. And I thought season 2 was a little bit more like winking and at the audience, especially with the addition. There is actually a character or an actor from the original X-Men films that plays a part later on in the season. I don't know how far you are into it, but I'm not going to say any more than that. But I just thought his casting, was kind of fun, like winking, like you're in on the joke. I get it. I think Stormfront, has been just absolutely great. And then, of course, I would say Homelander is probably the heart of the show. I mean, if you don't have Homelander like nailing every scene like he does, then I don't think you have a show, really. I mean, Billy is fun. The boys are fun. But, I mean, just that scene, I think it's in the first episode with the deaf superhero. Like the Daredevil or whatever kind of knockoff, and he just lays him out.
Oh yeah,
and it's dark, but it's also hilarious. I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've actually really liked season 2, and I think these are all good additions. But just like Game of Thrones, when we start to get more of the off-book stuff, where it's like, oh, these aren't characters in the comics. I get a little nervous, especially like handing Seth Rogen the reins and being like, run with it,
I mean, what I would say is, and I've never read this comic, so I don't have I don't place any importance on the fidelity to the source material because I don't have a basis with it. But I would say, generally speaking, the nature of novels versus comic book lore, I think you could probably go off book more easily with comics than you can with an adaptation of novelization.
Yeah, maybe.
I know,
just go really off book like they did with The Walking Dead.
True.
But I don't think the majority of the complaints about The Walking Dead's failing quality has to do with it going off book so much as just that it's poorly written generally. Whatever they were choosing to do with it.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I feel like I think you have maybe a little bit more wiggle room with going off on a graphic novel just because just by the nature of it being kind of unrealistic and being usually like interesting and crazy things happening. So it's fun to see something fresh and new, especially with the idea of like different arcs in a comic series, right? Like you could kind of do your own story just with the same back of characters that you want to just tell a different story, and they're usually pretty entertaining. So I do agree with you on that.
It's funny. I seized on something that Gary said there about how he felt like this season was somehow less dark than the first season. It's funny because I actually thought of it just the opposite. I thought that this was even darker from the perspective of, I think each character is more dark and jaded and depressed, or like I will say each of the characters reaches their lowest point to date at some point during this season, not necessarily all concurrently at the same time. But as far as the viewer engaging with the material, I think that they also ratcheted up the comedy even more. So like it was like net neutral as far as its impact on me, the viewer.
Mm. I think they spend less time ruminating in like the darkness in the second season.
Well, there's definitely
faster, I think.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like how fucked up like Huey was, or like Starlight,
it's A-Train's girlfriend,
Billy. Like each of them on their own in separate moments. What about
yes, and it definitely hits. Like, I mean, there's a big wallop at the end, but the just the moments episode to episode, like the A-Train's girlfriend, killing a guy with her legs and being a drug addict, and A-Train having to kill her using needles.
Yeah.
And the Deep being a sex offender. I mean, I think thematically, maybe you're right where the characters are hitting lower points, but on the screen, what was actually happening in season 1 is way more dark, I think, than season 2. I mean, the Deep just pulling out.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're probably right about like plot points
in front of Starlight.
I think maybe right, like as far as specific plot points. It's not a moment I should be laughing, but I'm
pretty terrible.
It's bad. That's why I bring it up. That's why.
Yeah.
Or even who's the invisible guy?
I'm looking forward to finishing.
The one that they killed fairly early in the first season.
Yeah. I think he has a thing where he's like hiding in the bathroom and watching people too, or something.
Yeah, wasn't he there witnessing Starlight getting raped by the Deep?
Yeah, he's but he's there on his own, like, doing his own mischievous things. I don't know, but yeah, Anthony, you were saying.
I do like that storyline where he's very clearly dead and they all know it, but because he's invisible, they just keep acting like he's alive and no one can see him.
That's kind of funny. It's a good write-off. I'm enjoying the second season. Want to get through it, but I'm glad to know that there's more to come. When that inevitably gets, that'll be fun. Moving on, something happened with MGM.
I was gonna say, wow, what a cliffhanger! Something happened. Okay, so I did a poor job gathering. I did a poor job gathering news and nuggets for this week, unlike last week in which I had way too many news and nuggets. But thankfully, right as we were getting started, Gary mentioned that Amazon bought MGM Studios, I guess. So I figured I'd dig that up and find out what that's all about. And we're all going to learn via this story on the Wall Street Journal, which is tackling this from the perspective of the FTC's involvement with this deal, and also the fact that MGM shares are ticking down on the news of his involvement with this deal. Shares of the Hollywood studio MGM Holdings Inc. have drafted down since the Wall Street Journal reported The Federal Trade Commission has pushed for and received jurisdiction over Amazon.com Inc.'s proposed acquisition of MGM. MGM shares, which are traded privately, ticked down from around $138. Oh my god, I hate this sentence so much. Sorry.
I saw that something happened to you there.
So I'm going to read you the beginning of the sentence and you'll see where the speed bump is.
Okay.
MGM shares, which are traded privately, ticked down from around $138 to $139. So what happened here was they were trying to give us a mathematical range of $138 to $139, but rather than using a dash, as one often does with mathematical values, they put the word to.
Sure, which changes the sentence entirely.
Exactly, especially when the rest of that sentence wraps around to the next line. So let's try this again. MGM shares, which are traded privately, ticked down from around $138 to $139 a share Monday and Tuesday morning, down to $134 Wednesday.
You could say around 138. You could just say that, and it would be fine. You don't need to specify.
Right? Since the deal was announced in late May, many MGM shareholders have been expecting a close review of the deal given the regulatory they're under. Several hedge funds have since been consulting with antitrust lawyers to see whether a strong case could be made against the deal. The deal has been a boon to hedge funds. While some fund managers say they worry about the sentiment, a raft of bipartisan legislation to curb the market power of big technology company signals, they largely say they are confident the deal wouldn't merit blocking on antitrust concerns. Any increased strength for Amazon as a streaming platform would increase competition and choices for consumers, several said, noting Amazon has a relatively modest library compared with traditional media giants. MGM's library includes the James Bond franchise and The Handmaid's Tale, and would boost Amazon's Prime Video streaming platform. Still, the traditional forms of antitrust analysis may miss part of the picture in the current political environment. Progressive Democrats hold positions of power and are pushing for far more aggressive enforcement. New FTC chairwoman Lina Khan, a longtime Amazon critic, has argued the government needs to broadly consider how additional acquisitions by the company will allow it to leverage and amplify the power it already holds in online markets. Hedge funds have been trying to assess whether Ms. Khan would be willing to gamble on an antitrust case she might lose early in her tenure. Several said they viewed it as unlikely, though one said a loss could strengthen Ms. Khan's arguments that antitrust laws need major changes to better restrain dominant companies.
Okay. All I care about is that with my Prime membership, will I be getting MGM movies? And if the answer to that is yes, I'm okay with this. If the answer to that is I have to pay that extra premium plus like tax that they like to do on other services, then I'm not okay with it. That's it.
Now, when you say that, do you mean like it's going to be a separate spun-off Amazon Prime Plus or Disney Plus Prime?
I'm saying if I have to pay for Prime and then I have to pay an extra fee on top of like that to get access to phone's about to fall out of pocket on the floor. Oh, saved it. I'm gonna have to pay an extra fee on top of it to get like some of the MGM content. I'm not gonna, but I doubt that'll be the case.
I don't think
I
that
would say
happen.
never hold your breath if they're going to find a way to bilk more dollars from you.
But the thing is, they won't get it, because I feel like their offering's a little bit weak.
I mean, I would say I can't think of a single MGM property other than James Bond off the top.
You got that tiger, man. Anytime you saw a tiger,
it's a big,
roaring at the screen before the movies, there was some good movies there.
Definitely a tiger, and not another animal.
Lion.
Definitely a lion. But also, Anthony, please name for me, other than The Wizard of Oz, all the movies you can think of that had that.
I know, it's tough, but like...
The actual news story is Amazon gets The Wizard of Oz and 007.
Rocky. I don't think they'll probably increase...
You know what? There was a name. I respect
the price for the membership. I mean, I don't know. Amazon Prime's the only weird one where it's like, are you a member because you just order a bunch of stuff online all the time? Or are you a member because you actually like Amazon Prime as a service? I mean, it's the only one that has two purposes, really. And then even if they get the rights to these MGM
that definitely
movies...
is a unique place in them.
They probably won't all revert instantly. They probably have like individual contracts already. Like all these MGM properties are licensed out because MGM doesn't have a streaming service.
Mm.
So, I mean, How many movies are on HBO?
I'm sure there'll be a phase out. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I don't know. I think Prime's a good service. I think HBO Max is my favorite, and I just want James Bond. Give me James Bond. Where's James Bond?
I actually really like HBO Max as well.
Same.
I would say that I've actually dealt with the worst since the early days of like engaging with Netflix. Some of the paralysis by analysis, where I'm like, oh my god, there are like literally 5,000 things I can watch on this, and I don't know which one to choose. I will say that I haven't watched a ton of their new / original content, so I'd like to see a little bit more beefing up of all of that. I mean, I know that there's some that's existed or whatever. Unlike with like Amazon or Netflix or some of the other sites, there's I wouldn't say necessarily a ton of new stuff that I've been rushing to watch on it.
Do you find the HBO Max app to be buggy as hell?
No.
Really?
I haven't had issues.
I would say that the first couple times I used it, I ran into a little bit of an issue with streaming one or two things where it cut out in the middle of it, and then I had to put it back on. But it's been a few months since I've had that issue.
Gary?
I mean, the formatting could be better, obviously. Like, Netflix is the opposite, where it shows you everything, and everything's on the front page. Where HBO is just kind of new releases, and a lot of stuff you do kind of have to dig for. Where if you don't know if it's on the service already, you're like, do they have this? Do they have The Matrix or whatever? So you do have to dig a little bit more, but...
Right.
Well, I have a question about the formatting, though. Are you talking about just the front page, or are you talking about...
Or categories. The categories are weird. It's like, do you like
Wow.
Do you like Batman movies? Here's all the Batman movies. And it's like, well, that's fine, but that's still only like 12 movies.
I do. Thank you.
I can only watch them so many times. So I just think the categories are weird. Like, I get why Disney Plus would have an MCU tab. I don't get why, if you're HBO and you're technically Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers Max, and you have HBO, why you'd be like, hey, Zack Snyder, huh?
And everything's black and white because of Zack Snyder?
Yes. Do you like Sucker Punch?
Yeah. Oh.
Don't answer that question.
Speaking of Sucker Punch, this week's movie.
Well, we're not there yet.
I know. But
Wow.
I have to say that at one point, and I never saw Sucker Punch, but I'm familiar.
Please
But
watch
I watched this movie, and at one point I was like, are they ripping off Sucker Punch?
Oh, come on.
The only thing the only thing I'll say on HBO Max, my issue actually wasn't with the actual like streaming of the movie itself, but the app and trying to dig through the movies and find something will crash on me consistently with different versions of the app on different devices. I've had issues with that, and that to me is unacceptable today.
No, fair enough. I've never run into that particular issue, though.
Okay.
Was it on like a smart TV or
Gary?
Yeah, no.
I feel like Gary's on satellite delay, but it was on. I've tried on a Roku, a smart TV, and an Apple TV. The Apple TV was by far working the best. The Roku was. I would have issues like trying to actually search for something like with their search bar, and then the smart TV one was just unusable.
Oh, okay. I get that.
But otherwise, I like the service and what it offers.
I've used it primarily on a Samsung 4K TV. I've used it a couple times on Xbox One, once or twice on my phone, and I've never had that particular issue.
Okay, so maybe it is a me thing. Let's move on to Loki.
Okay,
we're all up to date, right? We've all seen all 3 episodes.
Very freshly up to date, yes.
Okay. First thing, in my experience watching this episode, I unfortunately needed to break it up into 2 viewings, which I don't like to do, but I had to. The second viewing was the last 20 minutes of the movie, and I was watching it on my iPad, and I had like the AirPod Pros in, and it has a spatial audio option, and I was blown away by the soundscape that they were pumping out of this show. I was like, this is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
But
well, especially that final 8 minutes of it, right?
Yeah, like ducking. Like it was crazy.
What a twist.
And I still don't understand. I don't understand audio technology at all or how they do that.
Sorry, what twist?
What a twist! No, because I think Apple Music just did the same thing too, where they increased audio output or whatever. I don't understand it, but it's a good sounding show. Are we going full spoilers or?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I mean, we do
you
have
guys
big,
keep slowing
like,
down. I'm
we're
not
going
the only
back
one
to
slowing
Gary in
down.
the field energy in this recording, but I don't know. I feel like me and Anthony are synced up on the same timeline.
No,
It's
that makes
definitely
sense.
you.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
Gary's definitely a variant.
Why won't he take his coat off? Why does he keep wearing his coat? Take the damn coat off. Like, I know.
He's got to remind us what's going on. We got to know what's happening.
That's a good
so
point.
what happened
There was
in
definitely a point during the episode where I think it was when he was. So there was definitely a point where early on in the episode where he followed Sylvie through that portal into like the TVA headquarters, and he's like patrolling the halls looking for her, and I'm like, why is he still wearing the jacket?
He's just wearing the
variant
coat
on the back.
Yeah.
It's like they want us to buy the coat, and it's like, I'm not going to buy
Maybe
the
we're
coat,
all
okay?
variants.
I would, yes, absolutely.
No, you don't think? Listen, I like Disney's always looking for merch opportunities, but they're going to sell variant coats.
Absolutely, for $140. You watch.
And you can make your own. You pick the font color. It's like
Yes.
it's like a little
Design a
factory you
coat?
go into. Yeah.
Oh my god, just press on whatever, iron on letters.
Wait, so it's not only just design your own coat; it's you make it yourself too, and we're charging you $140. Thank you. Fuck off.
No, I'm not saying that. I think it was just saying you could make your own variant coat. I didn't know this. I thought you guys, this was pretty obvious that Disney just wants to sell us action figures and coats.
Oh, of course.
And coats.
And no, there's no question that they are going to monetize.
You
every
want
little
like
thing
a
they can.
zipper to
But me,
Star-Lord.
Even I didn't see the depth of greed that was. We're selling the coat.
It's the last step. You know?
I would buy the Star-Lord coat.
Absolutely. It's a cool coat. All right. So what actually happened? What happened in Loki?
So anyway, on non-coat related topics. So I feel like I saw some rumor mongering a few days ago about whether or not Sylvie was actually a Loki. And it's funny because they feel like they answered that question, yet we're also playing slightly coy with the whole, oh, stop calling me that. Don't call me that. I'm Sylvie. I don't know enough about this. I saw some of this around the time with WandaVision, Agatha Harkness all along and all that people thought that that's who it was going to be, et cetera, so on, whatever version of it. And there's something about that with Sylvie / this variant or whatever, and I forget what character it was. The Enchantress maybe or some shit, I forget.
Yeah, I don't really care to speculate. I've just been enjoying the way that it's going, and I'm really I think overall the execution of the show has been really strong, and I think that I think each episode has gotten better and given us a little bit more of a style to it. And this one in particular, when the two, I'm going to call them Lokis for now, were able to actually get some screen time together and like the conversations that they were having, the interpersonal relationship that they're building, I think that was really awesome to watch. I think they did a really good job. I think the actors are fantastic.
Just give me weird space stuff. I love weird Marvel space stuff. Go anywhere. Because it's the stuff that we haven't seen really. Like, it's all been super grounded. And yes, Thor is on Asgard and all that. But, like, you know, Marvel has stuff like with the Celestials and the Eternals and stuff like that. And, I mean, it's going to be a motion picture like the Eternals movie. So it's going to be kind of buttoned down. And, you know, they have to play by the rule book because that's actually a Marvel film. Where if they're just playing around and messing around and this is that and everybody has an Infinity Stone and they don't mean anything, like, that's fun. That's why you read comic books.
Yeah, there was definitely kind of some of that whole, like, turning everything on its head with that, especially that whole sequence where it's like, oh, hey, look, everyone uses paperweight Infinity Stones, which me and Anthony talked about last week, which I thought was definitely a cool idea. And there's some more of that here where it's like, yeah, we're just going to go to some random planet you've never heard of before, and we're going to blow it up and throw a moon at it or whatever. And or I guess it was vice versa.
Yeah, I was watching that scene. I was like, surely you mean the moon is about to crash into the planet, right? Because I am not understanding what's happening here.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a weird one where we have the atmospheric moon that's getting crashed into by the much bigger, like super terrestrial, uninhabitable planet, I guess. Which, yeah, I mean, generally when you play planet versus moon, planet wins.
Sure. When that planet split in half, I was pretty excited about the visual. I think that was really cool. For
a second, I was confused. I thought we got yanked into like Infinity War when Thanos brings the moon down on the surface of Titan or whatever it was, right? And I was like, didn't we see this already? He was like, no, okay, they're in a different place. Something else terrible and catastrophic is happening. We're all good.
It's different. They're not bringing the moon down on the planet. They're bringing the planet down on the moon. We discussed this.
And then, why are the guards...
It's been super entertaining. Lack of Owen Wilson bothered me, because I really enjoy Owen Wilson on screen in this movie, in the show.
I like that, actually, because they're going to get back to that, like the buddy cop thing. That's what I kind of thought the first two episodes were, just Loki and Owen Wilson being buddy cops. And it's like, this is awesome. But I assume they'll get back together to do another mission or something like that. I didn't understand, why were the guards still doing their jobs when the spaceship was full of like the evacuees and everything? It's like, you don't, there's no...
And all film lifting off.
What? Just do whatever, like you would pillage, and I get it's like a PG, it's a Disney show, so they can't actually show what would be happening in a near-apocalypse situation. If you know what I mean. But,
But like they kind of half did. The people were pillaging. And the guards were like, well, you stop doing that. Law and order, everybody. Even though we're all like moments from death.
Absolutely. So that's dumb.
I feel like the guards were just trying to stop them from getting to the spaceship, but...
Well, even then, they're not letting you on the spaceship, like...
Right. Also, no one's getting past that wall. It's going to do far more work than the guards are going to be able to do.
True.
It's like the guards on the Titanic who are like checking people when they're getting on the lifeboats.
Yeah. And then when that shuttle gets ripped in half by whatever that asteroid was, I was like, oh, this will be interesting.
Yeah, super shocking end to an episode.
Yeah. All is lost. This is it. There's actually been a joke the whole time. That was it. It was a 3-episode run. There's no more to the story.
For a second, I thought they were doing the thing that we've been talking about for so long, where it's like, hey, what if they just ended the season after 3 episodes?
Yeah.
No, they're dead. Fuck you.
Yeah. Fooled you. That's one way to wipe that timeline.
It's just a reminder of how dumb Loki was. Like, Avengers Loki is so dumb. Like, I get later on, he gets to Sakaar and Ragnarok, and he tricks the Grand Master or whatever, but, like, yeah, he learned everything emotionally by watching the future or whatever, but his plans and his actual tactics, like, just getting drunk on the ship, just not smart stuff from our guy here.
Yeah. It was very entertaining, though. Actually, my original intro to the show was to call Al the man, the myth, the imaginary love dagger, which is what I called him anyway.
The imaginary love dagger. What a tremendous name!
Oh man, but yeah, I love their interactions. But you're right. It is like he is such a doof at this point. And I think he's so up his own ass, and like he's like starting to he's basically relearning everything that he's learned since then in a new way. And I think that's actually really fun to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Well, it definitely gives a space for character development in a place where we thought that character no longer got to have development anymore.
Run it back.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, cool. Any thoughts on any ideas where it could be going?
Well, I think, are we going to get like a Star Wars story type of like diversion here? Because they threw away the idea way too quickly of, oh god, all of the TVA are actually variants and they don't realize it. And is this going to create like an uprising in which the TVA members all realize they're human beings who've been brainwashed to carry out this greater purpose in a form of slavery, and we're gonna have this like L2 or whatever she was.
I feel like that is what's going to happen, but I don't think that's too crazy, right? Because I feel like whatever's going to happen here is going to result in a multiverse. Whatever happens by the end of this show, and that would be a great way for it to happen if they just stopped doing their job.
That's true. I mean, I don't know. I think theoretically the multiverse already exists, and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to say that because nobody wants to hear me explain this. But I think the real conclusion is going to be it's going to be Kang the Conqueror. I think we're going to get a Kang the Conqueror tease, and that's probably going to lead more into Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. Because a lot of people are talking more about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If we're doing show to movie, I would assume that Wanda ties into that more than the time stuff. I think the time stuff they're going to give to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and the multiverse stuff they're going to do with Wanda. If we're doing show to movie like one-to-ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because obviously we know Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange, and so I can understand why this you would think would lead somewhere else, and then we have to see how that's going to work. Quantum stuff. I mean, I imagine that all 3 of these, or all 4 of these properties in some way or other, and don't forget that Spider-Man also has...
Yes.
No Way Home is definitely going to have some sort of existential thing, because Doctor Strange is in that movie as well. We're just turning into a whole sort of clusterfuck where it's all intertwined somehow. Like, more so than it's been like leading up to Avengers. Like, literally... the threads of one franchise are going to go into the other franchise more directly than we've seen in any of the other ones, with the exception of like Hulk just showing up in Thor.
Yes,
that's true. I am curious to see how it all plays out. I'm looking forward for this main long running storyline to actually kick into gear. I know, like it's kind of started, right? But we don't really know the shape of it yet, and I feel like once we get a couple movies in, we'll start to feel that, and I'm looking forward to that point.
Well, definitely the pandemic derailed whatever the next phase of Marvel like moviedom is going to be. So it definitely feels like we're like on a false start here. But I will say, through 3 of 6 episodes, this is by far the best.
Oh yeah,
like,
not even
from
close.
Craftsmanship, performance, like. It's like singular vision. How they're literally putting it on. Like, this looks by far the most like a movie than all of them have looked. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible. It's really tightly like plotted and created, and like I don't know. I'm actually kind of at a loss for words even.
I agree. Also, the music has been fantastic.
Oh my god! I brought that up. Was it last week or the week before? I forget, but. It sounds so good. The music is tremendous. They keep adding to it somehow week by week, and that's not even including Loki just deciding to get up and sing drunkenly and like serenade his entire death train car.
But it kind of like merges like all of those awesome like I feel like the soundscapes of like something like obviously you get like Ragnarok, right, and like the kind of music there, that synthy stuff that's going on there, but like also like Blade Runner and Dune and like all like the way that all that the music works in those movies. I feel like it's kind of a like coming together with all of that stuff, and it's just, especially in this episode with the music in the background as they're kind of just walking through the moon while things are coming down around them. I don't know. It was just really well done.
Yes.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Gary has a little topic for the show today. Gary, you want to take us away on this?
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know how many of you guys did, but I was just thinking with the movie theaters opening back up, to a certain extent, at least, and depending on what state you are, stuff like that. What movie would you want to time travel to go see in the theater live, with a live audience? I have a couple. But yeah, if you could time travel and just go back and be there opening night, to go see your Jaws or your Goodfellas or something like that. Yeah, how many did you guys do, or Al?
So it's funny because I have what's probably going to be a fairly obvious one, whether you would choose to, like in a vacuum, think to choose. Star Wars, like the original Star Wars, is kind of
Yes.
among the top of, like, just to see that experience of like how that happens, and then even more so than that maybe is Empire, because like the first one comes out and it becomes a sensation, right? But I'm picturing like, okay, like I lived through the return when they did Phantom Menace, and I lived through the return when they did The Force Awakens, right? But to be like in the height of it and then go straight into Empire, like, oh god, the most amazing thing we ever saw on screen ever. And at that point, right, it's the first time, there's no nostalgia. It's like, it's just happened like 3 years ago. We all fucking love this thing. The next one's here. Oh my god.
Yeah. I am with you on that. My first pick was actually Empire. I thought that would have been the one. If I could travel back to see one, it would be that. And that's what the topic. That's what the idea of one that I didn't get to be at.
Yeah.
That being said, the one that is right up with there is I would love to experience The Dark Knight again for the first time on opening night. It was like nothing else I've experienced. It was so much fun. The crowd of people, everybody was so excited to be there, and I guess the one that goes hand in hand with that was when we did the trilogy for The Dark Knight Rises, and that was just another like blowout experience where I would love to re-experience that.
Oh yeah, Gary, have you ever heard us talk about that experience going to see The Dark Knight Rises?
I mean, I was on the episode, so I assume we talked about it.
Oh, I forgot that was one of the ones. Listen, man, we've had enough guests do enough episodes now. I don't remember every specific individual one that everyone did.
No. I'm just, totally but yeah, no, I think there was, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so I do have one honorable mention.
The subtext there, Gary's like, I don't know, that wasn't that interesting.
Okay.
And Al was like, you're not interested.
No, we've had like.
I mean, if you want to retell the story, retell the story. I don't know.
5 times. Yana 3 or 4 times. No, we've talked about it enough on the show. The listeners don't need the story. I just couldn't remember whether we talked about it with you specifically.
Yes, I would.
That's great. Go ahead, Gary.
All right, so my honorable mention is Batman Returns. I would love to go back and just be at a pack because I wanted something more cinematic.
Okay.
And dark and has a lot of presence. And just the way Burton shoots everything. I mean, I want to be there in the theater when Catwoman's doing all the flips, towards Batman and the Penguin. I want to be there where Paul Rubens is disowning his baby. Like, I mean, I just think that would be so cool.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, Paul Rubens he's at the beginning.
I looked away from the screen for 1 second. Paul Rubens?
He plays Penguin's father. Pee-wee is Penguin's father in Batman Returns. At the beginning where they put the baby in the basket.
That's right. He reprises that role on Gotham.
I haven't seen Batman Returns in over 20 years. So
oh my God.
I don't recall the very beginning.
Well, what better way to see it than time traveling to 1992 and going to the theater? All right, so my main answer, I'm glad we only did one because mine's a cheat answer because I'm a trickster god. And I would go back to 1994 and I would stay in 1994 for like 6 to 7 months and just disrupt the entire time line. So I could see Jim Carrey do The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber all in 1 year. That would rule.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's
a hell of a movie year for one single actor.
That would be wild, for sure. Those movies, man. I actually, it's funny like that they came out in such quick succession because when I finally saw like the first of those, I was able to see the others like quickly because we had access to a video store that we shared. We gave them pizza, they gave us movies, and we were able to watch them all pretty quick. And it's just what an experience to burn through all of those.
Oh my God, yes! And to walk out and the first time be like, "Oh, this Jim Carrey guy's pretty good," and then the second time, like, "Oh my God!" And then by the time you get to Dumb and Dumber, you're just like, "This is the funniest man who's ever lived." And then I could safely go back to my timeline.
That's fair.
It's funny because I don't spend a ton of time thinking about Jim Carrey, like outside of watching his movies specifically, because like Anthony loved Jim Carrey. Probably his favorite actor for most of his, up between him and Schwarzenegger. Like, you had your action guy and your comedy guy. I always enjoyed the Jim Carrey movies or whatever, but like, I haven't even seen like really his whole catalog. And I don't know what made me think about it earlier today, but I was thinking about like my favorite scene from When Nature Calls, which is when they're driving through the woods when he first lands in Africa, and he's driving in the Jeep thing. The whole scene,
but he's bouncing around in the Jeep.
Yeah, so the whole scene is great, and it's everyone always remembers Like a Glove, which is hysterical when he parks the thing. But my favorite part of it is when he starts singing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just like culminates with him turning and screaming.
Chitty!
Yes! It gets me every single time when he does that.
Oh, it's so good. I adore those movies. I love Dumb and Dumber might be my favorite. I love
Really?
Yeah, like I love Ace Ventura. I love them, but there's something special about Dumb and Dumber. It gets me.
It's Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels is the secret sauce.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines from that movie is when he says "canines, dogs" to the layperson.
I mean, the whole movie is check out the butt
so
on
Gary's
that.
coming back for Dumb and Dumber. Got it.
Yes, and Dumb and Dumber 2.
Very cool. I liked this, Gary. That was a good one.
Yeah.
For the show. I think with that we should get into some fun and games. Okay. For this week's fun and games, I'm prepared. I hope you are. There's a couple of caveats I'm going to make early on. I've realized that things that get us tripped up are sometimes genre gets us tripped up with what we think should qualify versus like what it's listed as.
So you're going to read the IMDb genres?
For questions like that, I will be referencing if I will be referencing the IMDb answer.
Seems sensible.
Possible. Okay. I will try to caveat less and go on from there. So, Gary, if you're not familiar with how this works, we're playing 20 questions. You have 20 questions to figure out what the movie is. It's on the 20th question, you have to be making your guess if you haven't done it already. So it's not like 20 questions and a guess. It's like the 20th is the one, is your max. You guys can ask the questions however you want. You can slow it down and collaborate. You can go one back and forth, whatever you want to do. It's really kind of open to you all. So let the questioning commence.
All right, Gary, why don't you kick us off with our first question?
Okay. So it's everything but the title, right?
Yeah, you can pretty much ask any question about the movie that you want, as long as it's in the form of something that he can answer with a yes or a no.
Oh, it's yes or no. Okay.
Yeah.
Did this movie come out in the last 30 years?
Yes.
Okay. He's right on to us, because me and Anthony always, our first question is typically before or after the year 2000. So
Okay.
Okay, so last 30 years. So from 1991 on.
Yes.
Okay. Would this movie be considered an action movie?
Yes.
Is this movie part of a franchise?
Yes.
Okay. Is this movie... actually, no. I'm going to refrain from asking that question because it's kind of redundant. Does this movie feature a single one or two identifiable leads?
Yes.
Okay. So not an ensemble is basically what I'm asking. Okay.
Let's see. Action. That's kind of the same thing. What do you want to do, Al? Do you want to?
Well, so let's break it down into a decade, maybe.
Okay. I mean, that potentially is 3 different questions. Or, well, I guess, yeah, it's potentially, because we already did the last 30 years. So it's more of a shot in the dark. Let's see. Let's try. Do you want to try and get the lead?
Okay. I guess we could go that way.
Or we could ask if the director, we could focus on the lead or the director. What do you want to do?
Actually, let's go with the director, because I feel like that's probably got a narrower scope.
Probably. Let's see. Is the director an award-winning director in terms of traditional, like Golden Globes
Like
or Oscars?
screenplay or director?
Yeah.
No, not screenplay. Sorry, best picture or best director winner or nominee. You go with winner or nominee?
My gut says no, but I don't want to steer you wrong.
You don't want to say
no.
No. Okay.
Huh. All right. So we have an action film.
Actually, wait. I have another question to piggyback on the whole director thing. Did this director direct all of the films in the franchise?
Ooh, that's a good question. I actually don't know. Let me look that up real quick. I like that one though. No.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
Let's see.
That's a good one. I want to hold on to that one for future.
Anytime we have a franchises one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Dead Air. Dead Air is bad. All right. Well, is the lead of the movie Caucasian?
Yes.
Okay. It's a good question. Is this franchise... Wait, I don't know. I was thinking about maybe trying to pursue how many movies are in the franchise.
Yeah.
How many questions?
I don't know. Or we could ask if there's been a reboot or a sequel in the last 10 years or 5 years.
Hang on a second. Anthony, how many questions did you ask?
7 questions.
Okay. Gary, how do you feel about asking whether this is a currently active franchise?
Well, I think it's a little murky, but I'm okay with it.
Well, hang on a second, because I'm going to couch it like this. If we ask that question, for instance, something like Batman, if this movie were to be...
Is there a planned
Batman,
sequel, you mean?
Well, what I was saying is, like, if this movie were to be, say, Batman Forever, that would be within the contained 4 movies of, like...
Yes.
Not including Batman Begins and The Batman. Well, those would be separate from that as far as the franchise goes.
I disagree is the problem. I would count the Batman because it's Batman. I mean, it's active.
But, well, it's the same IP, but it's not the same franchise.
It's not the continuation. Okay, so you're asking more if this is a reboot or if this is an active...
Yeah, reboot. So what I'm going to say is, Anthony, you heard our sidebar
I got
there.
you. Yep.
Within that definition, is the franchise still currently going?
No.
Okay. So like, that rules out Fast and the Furious or Star Wars, right. You know what I mean?
Wait, within your context.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
The Batman Forever franchise is not still going.
Oh.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But
so what I'm saying is that this movie couldn't be a Fast and the Furious or a Star Wars,
gotcha.
But it could be one of the Schumacher type Batmans or, cool. You know what I mean? Or,
okay. Let's see here. This is going to sound weird. I just go with it, all right? I'm sorry.
I love it. I'm ready. Hitting it.
Has the lead co-starred with Ryan Reynolds? I'm sorry.
What a specific question.
I think that's what we got to do.
Don't get me wrong. There's definitely... It's just not something that has ever come up in any of the versions that me and Anthony have played of this. Which isn't to say it's wrong or a bad line of questioning. I'm just laughing because it's never even in like the realm of something I would have considered to ask, and it could turn up dividends.
No.
Okay.
So he's never been
not to my knowledge, and not with a quick search.
Okay. Right. So like, yeah, we're not counting something that was like an uncredited cameo type of deal.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
You go, Al. What do you got? You got any ideas?
Okay.
It's stressful, isn't it?
Yeah. I could literally see the anxiety on Anthony's face when we got to like question 15 last week.
Yeah.
So, okay. In the last 30 years, from a dead franchise, action, is this franchise based on comic books?
No.
I like that. Okay. All right.
Okay. Because then that rules out like stuff like Blade.
No, that's a necessary question. All right, so I'm going to go... How many do we have left?
You have 10 questions left. That was number 10.
Okay.
Fine. Then was this movie made in the 90s?
Yes.
Okay. 90s franchise. I should have just asked that instead of the Ryan Reynolds question, to be honest with you.
No, wait. So let's start ruling things out then. Is this movie a Batman movie?
Do you want to ask that question?
I'm asking that question. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It was also not based on a comic book, which you asked.
Oh yeah. No,
God damn it, Al.
it's okay. We're still gonna get this.
We are gonna get this.
Ooh, shit.
If you want to double up, you can double up. I'm thinking.
No, last time, no. I had a thought of a way to go, and the problem is I don't know the answer to the question. Right. So,
does this movie star Bruce Willis?
No.
Damn it.
Man, okay.
That's tough. That's a tough loss.
Yeah. That's why I don't like to go down those.
Well, we know it's not Bruce Willis, but we also know it's not Samuel L. Jackson, and we know it's not Eddie Murphy. But it's an action franchise.
Did Eddie Murphy co-star in something with Ryan Reynolds?
Well, no. He said no. So.
I know. That's what. Well, I'm asking you. What was Eddie Murphy in with Ryan Reynolds?
Because we asked if he was Caucasian.
Oh, okay. Caucasian.
Okay, how about this? I don't know. Al, you go, because I feel like you're going to get mad at me, because I keep just getting really specific.
I'm so excited to know what Gary's going to ask next.
Well, no, Gary, sidebar.
Yeah,
let's talk
it out.
You can ask me what the question you're going to ask,
That's
and I will
true.
give it my blessing or not.
On the question before you.
Well, how do you feel about De Niro?
Like, generally, or whether he's in a franchise?
I guess he's not in a 90s action franchise. Okay. What about, who's left? Because, I mean, it is a franchise. It's no longer going on. But it's only in the 90s. I don't think De Niro has an action franchise in the 90s. We know... I don't even know if Schwarzenegger has one. But he doesn't have to be in every movie.
Actually.
Okay. Well, what about the crime elements? Do you want to focus and just ask if it's more of like a crime movie? But do all action movies count as crime movies?
All action movies are definitely not crime movies.
Okay.
Huh.
Are all crime movies action movies? This is a fingers, thumbs thing? What's going on here?
No, because there's like...
Because cops and robbers, you know.
Sure, but like white-collar crimes, there's plenty of movies featuring white-collar crime that do not feature action sequences. Man. Okay, what... Man, I'm really hung up on the fact that it's an action franchise that's no longer active, that's not based on comic books. Trying to figure out within that framework, that's what's really throwing me off right now. Featuring a Caucasian lead. Now, are like, I'm going to burn the question. I was going to say, like, are all the leads Caucasian or whatever? Because I went down like a Men in Black rabbit hole, for a minute. Because technically, one of the leads is Caucasian. The other one isn't.
I wouldn't say Tommy Lee Jones is the lead. I would say Will Smith is the lead.
Well, I would have said they were co-leads.
Well, I'm going to help you out there, and I'm going to say I would agree with that.
Well, other than Terminator, does Schwarzenegger have any other franchises that existed in the 90s? Because even that, it's only T2.
Now that we're all back and recording, for the audience members, this episode might sound a little strange to you, in that we have recorded on 3 different input signals. But I'm going to do my best to stitch it and even it out. I am not hopeful, but by the end of this, you will have an episode. The Act 1, Gary will be about 3 to 5 seconds behind us on audio. Act 2, smooth sailing, but for only about 14 minutes.
So until he gets disappeared.
And
14 minutes.
Act 3 is like a remote recording, so I will probably sound a lot clearer than the other 2, but we're going to make it work. Okay?
Sounds good.
So that being said, we're going to recap.
We're stuck in the middle of a terrible game of 20 questions.
We're in a game of 20 questions. You have asked 13 questions. you guys might want to get each other back up to speed before you ask your next question.
Okay. Action franchise that exists in the 90s, does not exist currently, starring a Caucasian lead, not based on a comic book.
Not an award-winning director, and the lead of this movie has never starred or co-starred with Ryan Reynolds. It's not Bruce Willis. I think that's the important thing.
What a great
Bruce Willis.
What a great could have been. It could have been. What a great random thing to throw into all of that. I love that actually.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What about Harrison Ford?
Do you want to phrase that as a question? What is the question?
Not to you. I don't know.
I mean, so he was in the 2 Jack Ryan movies.
Yes.
And he was in the one where he killed his wife, The Fugitive, which also technically exists in a franchise because U.S. Marshals is either a sequel or a prequel to that. I forget.
Yes. It's got to be a sequel, right? Because it's... I don't know. I'm not doing
actually, no. Sorry. It doesn't have to be a sequel because... Oh, wait, sorry. The thing is, I've never seen all of The Fugitive, but I have seen all of U.S. Marshals, and I don't know which one came first.
True. I don't know. My main thing is that there's only so many guys that they give action franchises to in the 90s. So
also remember that the director did not direct all of the films in the franchise.
True. Oh. Okay. I think I got it.
Gary, why don't you ask me before you ask Anthony?
What about Lethal Weapon, dude? Mel Gibson.
Sure. I definitely don't know whether that director directed all of the things in it.
He definitely did not.
Okay. So how do we phrase that question?
I mean, we could be more vague to begin with. If you want to say, is this a buddy comedy or is this?
Well, I was going to say because if we phrase it like, is Danny Glover in this movie? Really, only rules out one movie or two movies. So
yeah. Is Joe Pesci in a sequel?
No, we're not asking that. We're not asking that Joe Pesci. Specifically, these questions are too precious now.
What a strange turn of events if the answer to a question like that is yes, and it's not the movie you're thinking of.
Sorry, it was gone fishing.
Well, so do you want to ask if this was a buddy cop movie? Is that the question we want to ask?
I think that's a good corner.
Okay, let's go with that. Is it a buddy cop movie?
No.
Fuck.
That's 14.
There goes all that. Huh. What else is there? Oh, okay. Well, all right. Jurassic Park? What about that?
Well, I was thinking about that earlier too, but that series is still going. Jurassic World is a direct continuation of that story.
But if it's based on your rules, is it? I don't know. I guess.
They are direct sequels to those movies.
They don't do a whole lot in terms of, Jeff Goldblum's in it. I guess you're right. Okay. What else is there?
I feel like I want to give you guys a hint.
Really?
How do you feel about that?
Okay. I mean, you certainly.
I'll be vague. I'll be vague about the hint.
Okay.
There is a certain question that you've asked that you got an answer to that you may be a little bit too hung up on, and I would like to remind you of the caveat that I gave you before you started questioning in this game.
The action part of it? We're hung up on the action part of it.
Maybe a little bit too hung up. Not. I mean, it's not wrong.
Oh.
But you're a little hung up on it. Movies can have more than one genre, is what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Especially by IMDb standards.
Well, it's definitely not a crime movie. We'll get away from those. Buddy cops. Still a little bit of action. Well, I mean, it could... Could be more of a thriller, but it's a franchise. What if it's sci-fi? What about sci-fi?
Okay, but see, like I was already like thinking about that, which is like kind of like why like Men in Black popped up into my head earlier, and like so I kind of was just looping that in.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to just ask if it's a sci-fi then?
Sure. Is this a sci-fi movie?
It is not.
Why? God damn.
That's 15.
I feel like I'm dragging the team down here.
No, because you're at least trying to like work the process. I've hit a total wall that I can't get past or around.
I hate that. And it's so funny because I feel like in a non-pressure context, you'd probably guess what I was thinking versus even having to ask it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a weird thing. Do you like the response to, is this a sci-fi movie? No. Why?
Come on. All right. No crime, no sci-fi, no buddy cops. No Bruce Willis.
No Ryan Reynolds.
No Ryan Reynolds.
or Ryan Reynolds accompaniments. Yeah.
No comic books.
That's throwing me off so much. It's like, oh, this is gonna kill me when we don't get it.
This is so dumb.
Oh God.
Come on, we're smart. We're smart guys. Seen a lot of movies.
Hang on a second.
All right. Well, how about, is this movie a sequel?
No.
No. So it's the first. It's the first in the franchise.
Good one. I think that's a good one.
I'm gonna be really mad when this isn't an action movie at all, but it had like one sequence of action.
There's a car chase.
I don't think you'll feel that way.
Okay. Oh, God damn it! God damn it! Okay, so this is. Well, how many questions do we have left?
You have 3 questions and a guess.
Okay, so do all of the movies in this franchise were all of them released in the 90s?
No.
Okay.
So the first movies in the 90s, not all.
That's right.
I want to do it, but
I want to know now.
Yeah, no.
I think you should just do it.
what about Sean Connery? How do we feel about Sean Connery?
What movie, Gary, was he in the 90s that was the first movie in an action franchise?
I mean, Highlander. Is that not?
Was the first one of those in the 90s?
I'm pretty sure.
I've never seen.
Oh, wait, no, but no sci-fi, so no Terminator either, huh?
Well, also remember it's not a sequel, so T2 would have been the only one it could have been.
That's true. I don't know, Al. I feel like I've dragged us down a lot, so just go with your instincts.
Fuck.
Al's like, that's my problem. They're gone.
Yeah, they are.
Have failed me.
I'm literally firing in the dark.
That just rules out so much. I know.
That's what's so confusing to me right now.
Back to the Future, but there were no sequels in the 2000s.
The first one was in the 80s, right?
We're gonna do this?
You're gonna make me feel worse about it.
I wasn't trying to do that. This is me going through the process, like confirming. You brought a thing out, confirm, not rubbing it in.
All right. Well.
Oh, there's one. You said it's not a current. Okay, no, it doesn't exist anymore. Like it's no longer currently running. So I was about to say, wait a second. Was the first Fast and the Furious in like '99? Because that would be obnoxious. But no, this series is literally still going. The most recent movie is coming out like a couple of days from now.
Do you want to circle back to De Niro or Stallone?
I was thinking Stallone before, but again, did he kick off any series in the 90s?
Oh, wait a minute. I mean, technically Judge Dredd, but it's a sci-fi, I guess. that had a sequel in the 2000s that's a franchise that's no longer going, that doesn't have Bruce Willis or Ryan Reynolds.
Was that actually a sequel? Dread?
I mean, it's in the same yes, for all intents and purposes, yeah. But it's sci-fi, so...
I feel like Dread was a reboot.
I thought that I would have said reboot.
It's a reboot. I don't know.
I feel like Anthony wouldn't steer us away from Dread directly if it was Dread.
It's a good point. At this point, with 17 questions in, I'm not trying to win, like, aggressively.
Play defense.
What about, I don't know, I mean, we did mention Billy Connolly. There is Boondock Saints, but I guess that is more of a crime movie, or...
Well, they're not cops.
They're not cops, but they are buddies.
And they are white.
Oh my god.
Is
Gary's running away from it.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Gary?
What about Austin Powers?
I mean, I wouldn't consider that a sci-fi movie, but like, it depends on how much you feel about like them going to the moon or traveling in time. But like, those were always like jokey mechanics, not like the actual point of the movie. So that would be a kind of a technicality. Anthony, does this movie star Mike Myers?
It does not. You have one more question and a guess. I feel like Gary's just taking this out on the stairs right now. Like he's just doing laps around the house because he doesn't know what to do.
Should have won. I thought we were gonna do I thought this was gonna be over.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed as well. Though I did warn you that Anthony was going to be merciless, and
I didn't intend to be.
So far, he has succeeded in mercilessly subjugating us with this question.
All right. Well, who's left? I mean, it's just Schwarzenegger. What year is Predator?
Predators in the 80s.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's not Bruce Willis. It's not Die Hard.
Yeah, well, Die Hard's in the 80s.
He's like,
wait, hang on a second.
Stop hang on that.
Hang on a second. Is this movie animated?
No.
Damn it.
You really thought you had it, though.
It was a Hail Mary. No, it was a Hail Mary. It didn't work out.
That's fair.
So we gotta...
Right. You gotta guess.
Okay, we already ruled out Lethal Weapon with the buddy cops. There's no Downey. There's no like a crime noir.
Remember, on this one, we just gotta guess a movie at this point. So
yeah, you just gotta pick a fucking movie that has a little bit of action in it. Just Pulp Fiction. No, wait, no. Bruce Willis.
That's everything that you asked so far that I said no.
We're doubling down.
I don't believe you. Pulp Fiction. What a twist.
Not afraid. What the fuck? What can it be?
Winning director. Bruce Willis is in the movie.
Fuck. I don't know, Al. You pick a goddamn movie. I don't know.
Oh God, I literally don't know what to fucking guess at this point.
This is so hard.
My animated one for a second was a Hail Mary. I was hoping it was going to be like Toy Story, which obviously it's not because it's not animated.
Sure.
It's not even like we're to the point where it's like, oh, it could be that, and like a way like off like Hail Mary thing. I have no fucking idea what it is.
There's got to be a sneaky guy that we're just missing. What? I don't know.
It's gonna be a girl, isn't it? Because we never actually confirmed whether it was a guy. Anthony's laughing, which means
I'm not giving anything away. I'm just laughing at this conversation. Is fantastic. I could feel the frustration.
It hurts so much.
It's palpable.
God,
It's just a franchise.
You gonna throw a movie out there, or are you gonna throw in the towel?
We have to guess. We have to guess.
It's to guess a movie, even if it's horrible.
It's Highlander. Is it Highlander?
Honestly, I truly have nothing better, so let's go with Highlander.
Yes. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not Highlander. All right, ready? I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to start reading facts about the movie and see if you can get it along the way. Okay?
So mad.
Released, and this is, Al, this might hurt you. Released in 1999. Rated.
No, because I kept waiting for you to backdoor that fucking 90s question.
Rated PG-13 with a 2-hour and 4-minute runtime. Directed and written by Steven Sommers. Summers?
That name sounds vaguely familiar, but it's...
I'm going to give you some... No, I'm not going to give you actors. I'll just start reading I'm going to start reading the description of the movie, and then one of you will shout the answer. At an archaeological dig in the ancient city...
The movie!
That's a good one.
Oh, I'm so mad.
And with that, Al feels the despair that I felt at not getting Indiana Jones.
No, but the thing is, well, for one, Indiana Jones, way bigger, more relevant, more, enjoying of that movie. Don't get me wrong, enjoyed the first two Mummy movies. I know the first Mummy movie came out in the 90s, though I wouldn't have been able to guess 100% 99. I probably would have guessed 98, 99, whatever. Just never crossed my mind. Not even a little bit.
Well, that's the thing.
But wait, hang on a second, though. That is a sci-fi movie.
No, it's not. It is an action, adventure, fantasy, and I would agree with all of those. I do agree that it's not a science fiction movie.
No, he's right. We just lost.
I guess by the strictest definition, it's not a sci-fi. But I don't know. I kind of loop that sort of...
The Frasier thing is the thing we fucked up on, because we're missing. We were missing from the 90s action guys.
Does this movie star George of the Jungle?
So it's what other guys did stuff like that where they crossed over into action, and it's just like Nicolas Cage. In the 90s, you really couldn't do that. John Travolta, we got beat fair and square.
No, we did. I'm just...
Well, thanks for playing. It's been fun. But with that, it is time for our flick of the week. The New Mutants. Not the Old Mutants. Courtesy of Gary. Released in 2020. Rated PG-13. Released in 2020. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Released in 2020. Rated PG-13. With a 1 hour and 34-minute runtime. Oof, if I had to guess. that was not the number I would have thrown out. 5 young mutants, just discovering their abilities while held in a secret facility against their will, fight to escape their past sins and save themselves. Oh boy. Let us start this off with our tweet length reviews. I'm going to go Al's first. I'm going to make a little sandwich out of this because I think I already see where this is going. So Al, you go first.
Okay. What a low bar to clear, but it's fine. I kind of liked it, even though I didn't really follow some of the big picture stuff going on. 5.5 out of 10.
Okay. Gary, your tweet length review?
Following... Got it. I'm going to make this as positive as possible. Traditional end of the X-Men franchise. This small addition to the movie's fine.
Okay, Gary, I'm just going to throw this out here, and it's partially my fault. I'm going to remind you next time you're on to prepare one ahead of time, because you're very clearly coming up with that up top here.
But this is the hardest one.
Sure, I didn't think to remind you because you've been on enough times that I assumed that you knew that was going to be a part of
that was amazing. Honestly, I'm glad you didn't remind him because that couldn't have been better. What was your score?
I think he's asking you, Gary.
What is the scale? I'm sorry.
It's just a 10-point scale.
I'll give it a 6.5.
Oh, okay. All right. I will give the New Mutants review as much care and thought as they gave the movie. Meh. 4 out of 10.
Oh, I thought that was officially a meh out of 10.
Meh out of 10. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, man. I started this movie off, was watching it. I was interested to see where it was going. And then I just wasn't anymore. I don't know. It felt a little hollow overall. Even if that... I don't know if that had entirely to do with like the skeleton crew that was running in the movie. It felt like a big open space with not a lot going on.
You know, the funny thing is this wasn't a movie shot during the pandemic. This was shot like several years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it felt like it could have been one of those movies that was made under pandemic circumstances because there's only like 6 people in the movie at any point. And most of the time they're not super close to each other. And in fact, there's a lot of times...
Plus those gangly guys.
But those were all 100% CGI, so... Sure. You know, the smiling men.
Things of nightmares.
I understand. I mean, my main thing is still the Disney-Fox merger looming over the film. I understand it was mostly shot before the actual merger, but clearly, I mean, my main thing is, especially with Dark Phoenix as well, is how much they had to hamper these movies so Disney would agree to it, so they could be like, all right, well, that makes it a little easier for us to introduce the X-Men the way we want to in 5 years, and 6 years, and 4 years, and how many ever years. So with this and Dark Phoenix was much more edited and changed because of Captain Marvel and because of the merger. And they even had the director come out and say that this was his vision. You know, how much of that is actually true, I do not know.
Blink if you're under distress.
But, I mean, yes, clearly there's all things that are very obvious that are problems with the film, with the nobody else being in the mansion or the grounds. And all these guys are trying their best. You know, Maisie Williams does an okay job. I mean, all the actors that are there on film, I think, are doing the brother in Stranger Things, William. Mm-hmm. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And I think Magic was very good. Anna Taylor-Joy is a very good professional young actress. And they all understood the assignment, mostly.
Sure. There's lots of accents in this movie.
I was gonna say I do have a question about some of the accents that went on, specifically the Anya Taylor-Joy and you just said the guy from Stranger Things. Is that his accent? I never watched Stranger Things. Is that typically his accent? Because
I think it was doing more of a Southern thing.
It sounded very specifically like West Virginia type. I mean, they're talking coal mines, so I figured that's kind of the gist of it. That one was a bit rough. Her Russian accent or whatever that was a bit rough.
Mm-hmm. I thought her accent was just called over the top. I didn't know it was actually meant to be something.
Just vaguely European.
What really threw me was like she does that accent when she's speaking normally to people. She does a different accent when she's using the bird hand, and then occasionally the accents drift into each other like at random scenes throughout the movie. I get it. It's hard to keep it straight.
Well, that was my biggest issue with that. There was one scene where she does the voice for the puppet. She does the vaguely European accent. And then there's just a third one that there's, I think, no accent in.
Yeah.
But it's like sandwiched in between other scenes. And like they cut away and they cut back. And then she's got the Russian accent again. And it's like, maybe they won't notice.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little silly. The grounds very much felt like the mansion from Deadpool 2.
Yes.
Right. Which was, I guess, supposed to be the same grounds and mansion from the X-Men movies, but like only if like someone who had seen the movie and then had to draw and recreate it would make it look like where it's like, I mean, it's kind of like that, you know?
Yeah, I think Gary mentioned her early on, but I think Maisie Williams probably brought it the most out of everybody there.
It's funny because she also was doing an accent. She's British and she was doing an Irish accent, but you would have...
Was it Irish or Scottish?
Well, one of them, for sure.
Something. I believe it was. Werewolf was the accent.
Something with a brogue.
For sure. But she did a good job. I actually like every time. Like her character was captivating. Like,
Yes.
I wanted to see where that story was going. I liked the idea, like how pure there was, like how pure of a vision she has. Like she was taking, I can't even remember who I'm gonna call her the main. What was it?
No,
Danny.
that's
Danny.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call. I like how she was taking Danny under her wing and like was bringing her up and showing her the ropes. Not that there were many ropes to show, but she did make it seem like there was a lot more going on there than there really was.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that was super jarring about that character is like for like I don't know, maybe a 10-minute span we were getting these cuts to a wolf. It's like, can we stop doing this? Like, I know who it is. Like, I know what's going on here. Like, there's no mystery here.
Well, the best part about that was the first time you see the wolf. It's when Danny tries to escape, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a wolf is just running slightly behind and to the left of her, and we make no comment. No other character makes any comment on the fact that, hey, look, there's a wolf over there.
None whatsoever. And then, we just get, like, these constant, like, cut-ins of, like, oh, it's like, what are we going to do for this, like, transition scene? Like, how about we just, like, do a snapshot of a trapper keeper? And that's what it looked like.
And also, at what point did we establish that she was either a wolf or a wolf person? Because if there's certain points she stops turning into a wolf and turns into a half-developed wolf person.
Is wolf person the politically correct form of werewolf?
Yeah, because like I'm thinking of the classic, like old school, like 80 years ago black and white horror movie, The Wolfman. Mm-hmm. But like that Wolfman was closer to a werewolf, but I wouldn't really say that she was a werewolf.
Yeah,
she was kind of
that in between stage with the sideburns and the long nails were just people that I used to go to concerts with.
It was like partial transition Teen Wolf, like. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like before he becomes the wolf.
They like ran out of money in the costume budget.
I don't know. I mean, I think if we're going to focus on the positives.
Is that what we're doing?
Well, she was positive. I would say. Yeah, she was. I think you're right that character. I think
this guy is very competent. And no part am I taken out because this looks bad. I mean. Mm-hmm. And the power sets are pretty cool. I think Sunspot's really cool.
I'll agree with that. I think the powers were dope.
Really cool. Like,
I would say they were cool, but some of them were a little confusing. Like, I'm not 100% sure what the power set was. Like, because Anya Taylor-Joy just had the power of imagination, I guess.
Well, no. I mean, she does have a magic sword and can go into another dimension. Like.
But it's a dimension she created with a sword that she created for herself because that was her fantasy realm to defend herself. And also, she has a puppet that turns into a dragon because that's what she imagines her alter ego as. Like,
yeah,
it does. Like,
go on.
At any point in time, any one of them could just like break out of there. That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Her powers were cool, but when you break it down, power of imagination.
Yeah, it's funny. What's interesting about that is like it just seems like it's like psychic powers of some sort where you could kind of manipulate the mind, like because you don't really know what the mechanics are of her power, right? So it's like I was kind of curious: are her power and Danny's powers like similar? It's just the execution is just different.
Well, that's why I was wondering because like for the most part, like when you take just the sequence of her fighting the bear, right? Like okay, so. It allows her to jump portals, right? Because she enters limbo, then exits it in another place. Okay, cool. Got it. She's got this sword. I don't know why it doesn't create a full suit of armor. It's just a sword and an arm. Mm-hmm. And we get a little dragon. Cool. Awesome. Fantastic. But the one little bit that like threw me off a little bit was she pulls Danny into that realm for a second. Right. And remember she asked, is it hell? Which was cool. It felt like a kind of a cool jumping off point to where like that could go. Because that's where it starts to get into what you're saying, whereas she's manipulating her mind too, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I don't know what it was about what you just said that sparked this for me, but at some point, like in the '90s, mostly, I feel like it was a badass character, like somebody who's supposed to be like this badass, would at some point spray paint something. Why did we bring that back? Why did that happen in this movie? She jumps into that fountain and pulls out that spray paint can and very aggressively shakes it. It's like, this is a dumb scene. You're my
It
lookout.
just had-
No, I'm not. No, this is stupid. I don't know. Like, just cut this. Cut these 5 minutes. It's unnecessary.
Well, I will say, doesn't it feel like when you think X-Men, it kind of evokes specifically the 1960s and the 1990s? So,
well,
there's your spray can.
It used to, but unfortunately what it does now is X-Men is a franchise that I feel like is a small version of what DC currently represents.
What do you mean small? What does small mean?
Because it doesn't like incorporate all of the Marvel stuff at large. It's just its own world
Right.
of X-Men stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Whereas the DC world has gone off the rails entirely and is this joke at this point of like a couple of good ideas and some crazy shit that happened, and like at one point was really good. It's that exact trajectory.
Yes, absolutely. And this one actually has an ending, which is funny. I hate PG-13 horror. I really do. Like, scare me or don't scare me or whatever, or give me Scream or something ironic or Jennifer Love Hewitt in a tight dress
What do you
screaming.
want from me?
Modern day PG-13 horror really doesn't have a home anymore because it's just trying too hard to make so many people happy that it's like high schoolers have seen scarier things on their phones. Like, you're not going to have a, so what
you're
Slender.
saying... Yeah, what you're saying is retitle the movie and make this your 2-week length review. It's New Mutants, A Nightmare on Elm Street with a Bear, rated PG-13.
Well, even in the Nightmare on Elm Street, most of them are rated. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street Light meets Annihilation Demon Bear, which they call it the Demon Bear at one point.
They do. I will say, at one point watching the movie, when the bear really shows its teeth and bites through the doctor, like abruptly, right? Bursts through the window, eats the doctor. I'm like, I feel like this movie started with this scene, and they tried to fill it out in two directions.
So that handcuffs you, the PG-13,
Sure.
The fact that it's the only other spin-off in the X-Men universe, really, other than the Wolverine. I would say X-Men Origins Wolverine is actually a prequel and is in canon, where the Wolverine is more of a spin-off where it's just Logan on a journey.
When you say the Wolverine, you mean Logan, right? Like just the movie Logan?
No, there's actually another movie called The Wolverine.
Directed
he
by
goes-
the same guy, James Mangold.
James Mangold.
Oh.
Where he goes to Japan and it's
Fights
it's okay. Starts pretty good and doesn't finish very well.
Between
And-
X-Men Origins Wolverine and Logan, there was the Wolverine.
Weren't there 3 movies in that?
Yeah, I just said between X-Men Origins Wolverine and Logan, there was the Wolverine.
And one
But I
more
don't know-
movie, no?
What's that?
I thought there was one more movie. I thought there was like a trilogy that was like the X-Men Origins Wolverine stories, and then Logan was almost separate.
No, Logan would be the third one if that's
Oh.
what you're doing.
Hmm.
But then, so it's the PG-13 rating, it's the fact that it's a spin-off, and it's the fact that it's a last movie in a franchise that obviously would no longer continue by that point. So all these things handcuff and hamper the movie.
That's true.
I think we get a little bit more positive than negative out of that result.
Yeah, it was so obvious that this was a jumping off point for what they were going to make a bunch more movies from, and like that's just not going to happen now.
Because I would watch them. I would watch these 3 or 5 or 6 strangers go off into the woods together now that they're a team and try and find. And that was the main thing that was going to upset me, is if they never brought up the X-Men at all. But there is that one scene where the guy puts his fingers to his head and does a Professor X impersonation.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if they don't mention Professor X exists in this universe at all, I'm going to be like, what is this?
I mean, yeah, they did say the whole thing. Yeah, isn't it obvious we're training to be X-Men or whatever? And I will say that I didn't necessarily dig it early on, but by the end of the movie, I did like the group vibe, like the whole ensemble. I thought did kind of reach kind of a cool chemistry.
They do, but what was confusing to me was there's a point where Ileana Rasputin, that's Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and Danny, they are clearly at odds, and then all of a sudden they are not.
Well, she brought her a puppet.
Before that, they were completely at odds. You can't come with us to our lie detector den. And then a few scenes later, they're hanging out.
Well, I mean, there was the moment where one of the other guys says, "Let her come with us."
No, not that. Not even that. This is like it's now another day. You would think that has worn off, right? This hangout. Then they're all back in their little TV room, and they're kind of all joking around. And I'm like, I just don't understand the dynamic.
I understand. You have to have that for the movie. Unfortunately, that has to happen where they all bond before they all break out together. So, I mean,
but why did they bond? Because I had no reason to believe that
because they literally
was no longer being a bitch to Danny.
They literally had no other choice but to bond. What else were they going to do?
They bond before they need to, or they seemingly. They're just getting along randomly in a scene at one point.
See, I don't remember them getting along, like the two of them specifically in that. The only time I remember that coming together was after they all start having their nightmares or whatever, and she tries to kill her, and then she gets needled in the neck. She brings her the puppet.
Sorry, I just scrolled through the cast. I got sidetracked by that. Yeah, Marilyn Manson was the voice of the Smiling Man. Did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, I saw that he was in the cast, but I didn't realize that's what specifically it was. What a random... The Smiling Man had, 2 lines?
Maybe. If that.
So that was the jumping off point for what I was sitting in the movie thinking, is this just ripping off Sucker Punch now? Because they had the whole... The Smiling Man was a metaphor for her being raped and or experimented on, and she goes into a fantasy world to defend herself from that, and wasn't that the plot of Sucker Punch more or less?
I mean, that's giving this movie probably too much credit. Haven't seen Sucker Punch. I would definitely reconsider because that's a loaded movie.
No, I know, but I mean, the most distilled down version of it is a fantasy world created to avoid PTSD and trauma coming from being abused by someone.
Okay.
That's all I was getting at, was that whole fantasy world created to deal with the trauma, specifically of a girl from an older man who's been abusing her. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. The power sets are the power sets. I understand it's hard to be well, why doesn't this work or why doesn't that work? But it's well, Jubilee, she just shoots sparks out of her hands. That's what she does. Or Cable, he would be a really strong telepathic mutant, but he has a nanotech virus that's eating away at his body pretty much. So he uses all of his telepathic powers to stop that from happening. I mean, I understand the movie didn't do a super good job of communicating that, but Magic's power sets are Magic's power sets, and they just worked around more than they.
That's fair. I'm not I appreciate you bringing up earlier, focusing on some of the good parts. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna say something that really bothered me. First, I actually think that they did. You are right. They focused on the characters, I think, really well. They wrote the characters individually well. The actors nailed the performances of those individual characters. Then they threw them into a ring and didn't really write a good story around them. That was the main issue for me. A bigger issue for me is the fact that there's 6 people in the movie and Roberto's always doing dishes.
That's a problem.
No, it's true, because we engage with his trauma last of all of them, and then also get the least amount of time with it. No, I mean, they fleshed out that story. It's okay, he was in love with someone. He lit her on
that
fire,
ended up being a really strong bit of a story, but it's just a snapshot, and that snapshot is great. A series of those snapshots just kind of thrown together don't make a good movie.
Because on 2 ends of the spectrum, right, you get that, and then you have Rain, who I thought that character was by far the most well fleshed out of all of them, with the best arc, because okay, so when we look at it chronologically, we have the jumping off point of she manifests her powers, she's super religious, she goes to church to pray away whatever this is, thinking that she's possessed by a demon or devil or whatever. horribly abused by a terrible priest.
Mm-hmm.
And so she needs help. She seeks help outside of what that person clearly didn't offer her, but still maintains her faith and religion. Like, she's going to confession in a chapel that has 0 priests in it.
Mm-hmm.
She's giving a legitimate, like, she doesn't have to go through the ritual, or like, she still means all of that as a part of her process to try and stay grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't let any of her trauma actually get in the way of her trying to get whole again. Like, she knows that she's not there yet, but she's
Right.
gonna keep working towards it, which I thought was pretty powerful, and a lot. I mean, through the process of both helping this other newcomer who doesn't understand where they're at yet in the world, and also letting it allow her to be who she was.
Yeah, you know, I agree. She nailed it. And that, like you said, that character, I think they gave it enough where, like, they gave her enough screen time to actually flesh that stuff out, which was good.
Yeah.
I will say, Danny, right? Like, the way the movie, like, kicks off with, like, the whole, like, the dad waking her up, pulling her out of the town and stuff like that, putting her in the tree. I was like, I've seen enough X-Men movies to know that you caused this. And sure enough, it was your bear.
Yeah, and I was a little bit confused on that too, because, like, I guess we've kind of seen an analog to that in the Jason, was that what it was, the character, the Stryker's son in X-Men 2, the one who's in the wheelchair, who's got the powerful, like, telekinesis, who projects the like, you know, to, like, these horrible fantasies and visions and people to fuck with them and all that. So I guess there was, like, an element of that to her power, but, like, she's creating, like, real world fantasies with physical manifestations of their worst fear, kind of like Harry Potter Boggart style, I guess.
Because she's a new mutant, not
which
an old
is
mutant.
which is kind of a cool twist on that whole thing. But I was a little confused because there was a little bit of, like, an Ouroboros situation where it's like the snake eating its own tail, because ultimately the worst of the horrible manifestations is her own, which is attacking her.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be, all of them seem to be subconscious, where I imagine that, like, where that character have been given the opportunity to develop, they could weaponize that power, like, say, sick that bear on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little confused about, like, the self-destructive part. I mean, I guess part of the whole thing is, like, the self-destructive nature of trauma and all that sort of stuff, but we didn't really see an inciting incident of trauma.
Sure.
Prior to her creating her own trauma by killing her whole reservation. Like, that part is where I kind of lost track of all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a duality thing that they were doing where they were like, inside everybody there's a good bear and there's a bad bear. I think it kind of opens with that.
Sure, I just like typically, like, that sort of thing, like, maybe she would have witnessed as a young girl an actual bear kill her mother, and then when her powers manifested, her fear of the bear caused the metaphorical bear to attack her and the reservation. I just didn't understand what the inciting trauma was to create her powers, creating the now metaphysical trauma.
That's, I mean, I don't know. I think it was more that that's just her spirit animal. I think they did, like, spirit animal stuff in the movie. So it was more given to her. And, I mean, we see even in X1, it opens with Rogue's powers triggering when she doesn't want them to.
Mm-hmm.
I understand there's usually an inciting incident, yes. But as far as the X-Men movies, usually the powers, they just activate when you hit a certain age, really.
Sure. My point specifically, though, was if your power is specifically fear-based, don't we need to get the original specific reason that she's afraid of the bear?
Well, no, I don't think so, because she's not. It's not that she's okay. I actually think they give enough reason for that, in that there is maybe it's not handled very well, but in the very beginning of the movie, there's some voiceover, right, about the whole the bear thing. So that is something that
I think most of those.
Age, right?
I was gonna say, I think that most of those voiceovers tend to be done in post-production, and it was like, I think someone
we forgot about why the bear. We forgot about why.
Someone raised the question that I raised, and they're like, I got 90 seconds of voiceover that are going to take care of all of
it. Yeah, they watched the first cut, and somebody mentions the bear necklace, and then somebody else in the room went, "What the fuck's that about?" but that is the answer, right? Like, so, like, in my opinion, the idea is that as a young kid, her father told her this story that resonated with her. It's something that she's held on to forever. The power being fear-based just manifested itself for her in, like, she doesn't want to become the angry bear, right? But, like, the fear is, like, I don't want to be this bad person, and I want to stay away from being this bad person. But then that bad bear comes into play.
So her worst fear is fear itself.
Bad bear.
And bears.
Bad bear. Sure. Fair enough. But I don't know. It didn't bother me so much. What bothered me, I did, again, though, it's execution. I agree with you. I brought it up not even thinking about, like, that we'd talk deeper about it, but, like, that type of voiceover thing, it was so clearly added on after the fact, and it's
right.
painful.
You're right in your analysis, but I'm just saying, like, that's not good enough.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know. I mean, she grew up in an indigenous community. You would assume that she would interact with bears.
Sure, and my point is just get a flashback of her watching her mother get killed by a bear. You know, like,
show don't tell.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, just this movie's already so handicapped to begin with that, you know, either you can put it on for 20 minutes on an afternoon or stop and start to watch it for a little bit and turn the channel or whatever, or you can't. I don't know if I'll ever rewatch it again. I mean, mostly just as an X-Men fan, I'm glad it got released, and I mean, I'm glad it adds to the universe in a small way, just the smallest way possible, because we're never going to see these characters again.
Sure.
Well, I'll say surely, like, the movie was completed, so at that point, release the fucking movie. Now, if you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of sending it to movie theaters and it's going to go straight to streaming, fine. But at some point, the movie's been completed. Make it available to someone to see somehow, which they did, you know, ultimately.
Yes. But when the end of the X-Men franchise, it's always just going to be Logan for me. Like, that's the end.
Sure.
Really.
Well, it definitely went out with a whimper when you consider what happened. The two, like, slightly similar, but ultimately, like, not exactly the same, like, debacles that were Dark Phoenix and this.
Yes.
One character that we haven't touched on much is the Doctor.
Yeah.
And I want to bring her up because there was something interesting going on. I actually think the actor wanted to do so much more with the character than was ultimately written. Because what I was getting from maybe the first 2/3 of the movie with the Doctor was that I feel like we all made the assumption, obviously, this is not a great place. She's probably working for some sort of evil corporation, right? But what I was getting out of the performance was that she was maybe questioning it. I thought she cared.
Absolutely. And that was, I think, maybe the most obvious version of where rewrite/reshoot happened. Because it seemed like she wasn't actually training a bunch of killers. She looked like she was trying to teach people how to come to terms with themselves and, like, rebuild, because all of them were kind of broken. Like, more so, actually, everyone other than Danny had, like, a very specifically obvious, like, version of themselves, like, they were broken. Like, we're seeing manifested, like, split personality and all that sort of stuff, right? And so, like, I wouldn't say she was necessarily doing a good job of it, but, like, it did seem like she was kind of trying to help them through their trauma.
For sure. Like, I almost thought that, like, the intention was to find out who's the worst, and they would become part of whatever this program is that they want, and the rest would kind of be ushered out, like, as if they were to have succeeded, to make this whole facade of this thing that they're doing seem like appropriate, right? Whereas,
or you could see them, like, if she was, like, goading some of those antagonistic relationships to see if someone would snap and kill the shit out of someone. It's like, that's the one. That's the one we need for the murder weapon program. You know what I mean?
But, like, more so that she's trying to make them be better, so that, like, they can be released as better, because they would not fit the criteria of the program. Like, and that she would maybe prefer that, and, like, you know, at the expense of, she'll probably lose her job if she's not getting any recruits, right? But, like, it seemed like she was conflicted for the first 2/3 of the movie, and then all of a sudden she was just a monster.
Well, that's the other thing is because when it gets to the point where she gets the ultimatum from like up top, like it seemed like she was leaning towards, I got to find a way to make this look convincing when I blow this all up so that the kids can all get away or whatever, and I might have to make a heroic sacrifice. And instead, she went full must follow orders, like Nazi style, and let's kill the shit out of these innocent people.
They actually wrote that version that we're talking about, and then someone high up said, no, 90 minutes.
That's how the movie is so hampered by it not having a sequel ever. I mean, there's a very easy way to backdoor just Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is the guy who's running the hospital. And, you know, I mean, obviously put in other doctors in the background and stuff like that, but then have her be like, no, Mr. Sinister, you're evil, obviously. And then he gets her killed. Like, I mean, there's 15 to 20 minutes you could add on just by doing that. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Sinister is someone who's never showed up in the X-Men movies. So that's just somebody else. Disney's like, don't use him. We're going to use him, okay? When we get this problem.
Well, I was going to say, I think, Anthony, you made a good point there. 90 minutes, and also, no more actors. Yeah. Like, we're not introducing other people, and if we kill her off, we have to have someone who's pulling the strings, the Mr. Sinister, and probably minions who carry out the killing of her. You know what I mean? Sure, we could maybe CGI some more smiling men to, like, hack her up or whatever, but... It
would be amazing if one of two things happened. One, we just added an animated person because we weren't going to hire another actor, or two, we just repurposed another actor and we don't talk about it. Like, like the Doctor has a twin, but like we don't recognize that it's a twin.
it's just her.
With a mustache, yeah, no, with the Groucho Marx, like the nose glasses and the mustache.
They're like doing a different accent.
Yeah.
He's big into clones, right? So, I mean, they already have blood stuff in the movie.
Blood stuff?
This mutant, and they're testing it. And it's like the whole clone saga with that creates Cable is them taking DNA from Jean Grey after she's already dead and making another Jean Grey, and Scott procreating with her and making Cable. And it's, I mean, these are all things that they could have done and fleshed out the movie very easily. But in my opinion, Disney said, no, I believe that Disney would not want to blow their load on big bads, big X-Men big bads that they haven't used yet. They've used Apocalypse. They've used a Magneto. Like, who's left? You know?
Yeah, they do seem to be kind of scraping in the bottom of the barrel at this point then.
Absolutely. And we're there. We're at the bottom. We can't go any further. This is it.
It's going to be a little fucked up, though. I mean, like, some of those roles you could definitely recast adequately, but getting another... And I thought, like, Fassbender and McAvoy did great jobs, but playing younger versions, I think you can get away with it. But trying to get a new, quote-unquote, definitive take on Professor X and Magneto, like, you're not going to supersede Patrick Stewart or Sir Ian McKellen, like...
Yeah. 100%. I mean, all they're going to do is recast these guys and hope that they age into things that are as compelling. But even the whole Magneto, the origin story, they're going to have to change because there's no way that... I mean, Auschwitz was 60 years ago now. So he's
80 years ago.
80 years ago, even further away. So it's like, there's no way. They're going to have to change something regardless. I mean, it just sucks. Like, as an X-Men fan, and all these people who say, oh, well, Marvel has the property now. Like, they got it. It's going to be okay. It's like, well, yay, I kind of like Hugh Jackman. I kind of think X2 is a masterpiece. Like, sorry.
I still legitimately think that X2 holds up. It's a strong movie.
Fantastic Four, cool. Go have fun. But X-Men, like, that's way harder to do.
Well, I mean, certainly, I don't think either version of the Fantastic Four, any of those characters, feels like the definitive take on the character. Whereas, like I said, between Hugh Jackman and Stewart and McKellen, those guys all feel like the definitive takes on those characters. We're going to get new versions of them or everything. And I'd be curious to see what a MCU-ified version of X-Men looks like and how they can incorporate all that and where that would change and twist and accentuate like the storylines and all that. I'm on board for it. It'll be cool, but like it is a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it only in the sense that like I think the old stuff needs to stop because they've run out of control. Similar to DC, it needs to stop. Time needs to elapse, and it needs to be restarted.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen hard stop. Like they are not going to pick up the threads of this, and fortunately, unfortunately, it's neither here nor there. It's going to be something totally new and completely different. It's not going to pick up any of what we've already seen on screen.
Yeah, I will say, like, I agree. Like, right, like when you think about Wolverine, when you say the words Wolverine, the first thing that comes to my mind is Hugh Jackman. Right, I think about him as Wolverine. I also think about, like you were saying, Ian McKellen. Like, I think about that stuff, but it's also because it's been around for so long and it hit us at like a formative time. I think that they could do it well, and they could cast it well.
I'm sure it will.
And
it's just going to be hard.
They probably will. They will not do it unless they can do it well.
Sure. It's always gonna butt up against those like monolithic performances, you know.
Mm-hmm. I will say, growing up, I loved the Batman and Batman Returns, right? Like Michael Keaton was like my Batman for the longest time. Like I was excited for the new Batmans. I was definitely, there was a part of me that was like thinking about, oh, this will be strange to see somebody else in the suit. But I loved what happened, and now, like, I don't know, The Dark Knight is my favorite Batman depiction of all time. Like, yeah. I don't know. I think there's a chance that they make a movie that just absolutely rips, right? And like you go like, holy shit, they did it. And I don't think that's I think they have to do that if they want to continue, like, and then they want to bring these characters to the fold. And if there's anybody that can do it, it is this Marvel Disney thing. Gary disagrees.
Everything has potential to be good, but like if we're using, first of all, Batman's one character. Mm-hmm. The X-Men is many, many characters. You have the Brotherhood, you have the Mutants, like you have the Sentinels. I'm just really happy with what we got. And even this movie is really well cast. You could make a sequel with Anna Taylor-Joy and Maisie Williams and the Stranger Things guy, and people will show up. Mm. So just think always they made a lot of right decisions along the way. And just to start over and to do a hard reboot is really hard.
I think with their new platforms and the fact that they're doing some TV shows right now, I think that X-Men would probably be best suited as like a series that will run for 10 seasons. Like that they continue to make new storylines and bring in new characters and phase things out and like actually just stand that up on it. I don't think that they'll do this, but I think that could actually work because there's so much to do in the X-Men universe. Because I feel like the X-Men universe itself is probably as large as the rest of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, when you consider like all of the, like you picked like 10 semi-casual fans of X-Men lore, and you could probably like create a roster of like 30 characters between those people. Like just like recounting people that they recall vaguely from like reading like one comic or watching like the animated show in the 90s or watching the movies, you know what I mean? So that would, and that from that perspective, like lend itself to television show because it would very quickly turn into a Game of Thrones-esque cast when you consider how many characters could be incorporated in that fashion.
I would say the only one-to-one comparison so far is Spider-Man, where they took a property that was owned by another company and they made it their own. And there was already such a relationship with the audience and the character already that they had to change so many things where there's not even an Uncle Ben anymore. And it's like, sure, I mean, there's going to be little things that piss people off. And Homecoming's a great movie, and Far From Home's a great movie.
I think that also comes down to rebooting it twice in 15 years, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Like a marquee property.
But what they're actually going to change and tweak and timelines and what they're actually going to do, I don't know. and I like what I have already. And maybe, I mean, I like Spider-Man. I like original. I love Tobey Maguire. And when he shows up in Spider-Man No Way Back or whatever, I'm going to cry. I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to be a little fucking kid. But that's only because they brought back the thing that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be because they did so well on this next, iteration.
All I know is they better have Jake Johnson in that Spider-Man.
Yes.
You can have Tobey Maguire, you can have Andrew Garfield, but if you don't have Jake Johnson as well.
Al's walking out.
I just hope John Mulaney's on the street.
Is anyone gonna pick me up? Is anyone gonna get me?
Oh my god, if we don't have that's what we need to do, right? We need to have a quick cut of the assorted Spider-Man crashing into the wall of a comedy club, and it's John Mulaney on a stand-up, and Nicolas Cage, Jake Johnson, and
I think they're all just standing online at a hot dog cart.
Just a group of them.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking them sitting front stage watching John Mulaney on stage or something like that.
That would be pretty great. Oh man, they're all at a hot dog cart, but Johnson is actually serving the hot dogs. I'm looking forward to seeing what Disney does. I'm not. The thing is, they've gone this far and they've made some great stuff. There hasn't really. I don't think there's been. I mean, there hasn't been many misses. Maybe early on, but that was just because as they were getting formed. They're bound with. You put out 1,000 movies, you're bound to miss a few. So I mean, there is the chance, and they really haven't lately. There is a chance that they do miss when they come to the X-Men universe. So,
absolutely.
But that I will. I mean, I feel like I need to give them the benefit of the doubt right now because they have done so well so far.
Yeah, I mean, what's the closest that you would consider to a miss in the last 8 years?
Wasp.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it Ant-Man and the Wasp? Which was still fine.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do we consider that a miss?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, what's the closest to a miss of all those movies? Is it that one? In a post the Dark World era of MCU, is that the closest that we get to a miss of all those movies?
Yes, but X1 and X2 hold up for me so well that if you botch your introductory X-Men platform, be it a Disney Plus show or a movie, I'm going to be extra harsh.
I totally get where you're coming from there, but if you really think about it, that means that the majority of the X-Men movies are not great, right?
Okay.
Two of them were very good. The rest of them were not. Maybe 3 of them. Sorry, Logan was amazing. But
well, I mean, Days of Future Past was really good too.
Days of Future Past. The Wolverine's fine, a movie that you just learned about tonight.
No, I've seen it. I just thought that there were 3 movies in that cluster, and I thought Logan was something that came after the fact.
Okay. And then also, how do we include or not include the Deadpool movies? Are those X-Men movies or not? Because they kind of are.
They are. I think they are.
I don't think I agree with that. I feel like they're kind of on their own in their own side universe. I understand they reference the other material, but I guess what's great about the best thing I feel that came out of all of the nonsense is that Deadpool exists because those movies are really funny, and that wouldn't have happened in a Marvel universe.
Well, we're gonna wait and see because it's gonna happen in a Marvel universe.
Not in the MCU. In the Fox universe, yes. And we have to give him more credit, and I'm just going to turn into more of an X-Men fan as longer this goes on, but Logan's R-rated, Deadpool's R-rated, and Deadpool 2 is R-rated, and the MCU has 0 R-rated movies. And I don't know. I mean, it's just more of a willing to take a risk. And I know the movie that we're actually talking about, 0 risk. They just put it out. But if they had more direction, if they had more planned sequels...
Well, the risk was that they made $0 on it because they didn't release it theatrically.
Yes. But if they were like, hey, we've made R-rated movies before, you can get a little crazier with this or whatever, and not that, oh, this might become a Disney property, So can you just make it PG-13 and put it out? Like,
Well, didn't they say that the next Deadpool was going to be rated R?
yes, but after the fact.
I'm just saying that will be under the Disney umbrella.
When it comes out, Fox has already done it.
I know. I'm just saying, like you said, like they've never before, like Disney and MCU. Like they will, though. That will break the ground on that.
Yes, and yes, sure.
Anthony, what movie were you looking at just before?
I was trying to figure out why I'm so confused about this whole Wolverine thing. I've got like 3 like X-Men collections because they kept releasing them at different points, and one of them is like the Wolverine collection, and I think this is the reason I was so confused. It's like X1, X2, X3.
Oh my god!
Then it's the Wolverine. Then First Class. No, sorry. Then X-Men Origins Wolverine. Then First Class. Then the Wolverine. So I was thinking the last 3 in that box were a Wolverine trilogy, but the middle one was First Class.
He's not in that, but he has a cameo.
He has a cameo, which is amazing that it's in this box set.
And I mean, I don't know. Just to put a cherry on top, I mean, I don't think Fox did everything right.
Sure.
But the things that they did do right when I was 10 years old, when I was 11 years old, like, made me really happy.
I would say they were like 50-50, right? Because you have X1, X2, you have Days of Future Past, you have Logan, and we'll even be kind and put in First Class in that one. So collab in 5. What's that?
Yes.
Okay, and then on the other side, you got X3, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, New Mutants, and then it's up to you whether you decide, because I've known a lot of people are torn on what the Wolverine is. Some people really like it, some people hated it. So that's like the tiebreaker, and it's whichever way you feel about it. So they're about 50-50.
That's fair. But 50-50 is not great when you're talking about a movie franchise.
No, not at all. Not in the least.
I mean, Batman is 50-50 if you really want to do this. Like, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. I don't...
Hang on. Batman Forever is fantastic, and I will not budge on that.
As a person, yes, but most would disagree with us. Like,
most people would be wrong.
Batman and Robin? Atrocity. I love it. Atrocity.
All right, fellas. Where do you want to cap this, huh?
Definitely around the conversation around Batman Forever, because last time we talked about that on the show, it didn't go well. So the deleted archives.
And with that, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a 6. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixanda6@thespintune.com or tweet us @thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
We'll see.
And I'm Carrie Gorecki.
Thanks for coming.